Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. This is a podcast to inspire, uplift, show forth the love of God, and help usher in the spiritual awakening. Please like, subscribe to this channel, and share everywhere. Thank you. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. I'm your host, Jay Spillers, and I have a guest today whose name is also Jay. Jay, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jay Flanagan. It's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you, Jay.
So why don't you tell us about your experiences? Because how many near-death out-of-body experiences have you had?
Quite a few. Sadly, I'm one of those few people that you'll ever meet that went through so much pain, struggle, and trust and problems all throughout my life right out of high school. So I've had several near-death experiences. All of them had been pretty close to the same thing, if not a little bit different.
So what was the first one you remember?
So should I give the past history too and go through that so we can get up to it, or just go straight about the experiences? Your call.
Well, you can go into a little bit of the history.
Okay. So for me, I'm 46 years old. At the time, I was right out of high school, and I had been suffering from some heart attacks. And now, when you're thinking heart attacks, young high school kid, go figure. That's a tough thing. For me, it all came from the chickenpox virus. It caused a condition known as coronary artery spasm, where the heart would flutter and cause heart attacks. I had a running total before I had the heart transplant and the LVAD of 4 heart attacks and 2 strokes. Now, the 2 heart attacks were mild. They only found them because there was the enzymes in my blood and the condition that I was in when I went into the emergency room. So they made me an NIH patient. I went to the National Institute of Health, and while I was in the National Institute of Health, they did every test imaginable. I never felt like a guinea pig so much in my life. While they were doing all the tests and trying to get everything straight with that, they did a cardiac cath, and during the cath, my heart spasmed, fluttered, and the catheter went right through the left anterior descending artery of my heart. When it did that, I had a massive heart attack on the table, died, and they brought me back. They didn't have a surgical ward at NIH at the time, so they had to take me via helicopter to Washington Hospital Center and perform some additional surgery to bring me back, including putting a balloon pump in my heart, putting stents in the heart, and everything else. I went from a normal functioning heart to a 19% functioning heart after that episode. Now, the out-of-body experience and the near-death experience that you were talking about, it's hard to explain. It's one of those things where everybody and their brother were shocked and didn't know exactly what to say when I could come out of a situation where I was dead and gone, and they're trying to bring me back or get me to a location where they could bring me back. And I knew their names. I knew what they were performing on my body, what they were doing on my body as far as moving me from location to location. I was in the helicopter and I was no longer with us. I was trying to be with us while they were moving me from one location to the other. And I could tell you what was outside the windows of the helicopter, what the name of the lovely lady was that was sitting right beside me in the helicopter, and the name of the pilot that she was talking to. When we got to Washington Hospital Center and they brought me back the first time before I went again, that's when I truly had kind of an out-of-body experience. I could see everything. I could see what was going on with my body. I could see my body laying there. And then when I completely was gone, I had the most beautiful, warm, inviting white light, the most peaceful calm that you could ever experience. It was gorgeous. It was amazing. Didn't want to leave. But at the same time, like a big shock to the system, I was able to come back and woke up in the critical care CCICU with a heart pump in that was doing all the work for my heart, and me trying to work my way back through it. That was just one of the many experiences. Some of the other ones were, where I just heard things. Some of them where I saw the light again, or some of them where I had the out of body experience where I saw what was going on. All of it wraps around the fact of having all the heart attacks, having all the events that happened to my body, and then on top of that, my heart went downhill. I was 19% and went all the way down to like 5%. The reason why was because the pacemaker defibrillator that usually set right here, it went on ahead and just shocked the heart repeatedly. And when it shocked it repeatedly, it didn't stop. So it took it from 19% ejection fraction down to 5. Emergent heart surgery. I had an LVAD put in, which an LVAD is a left ventricular assist device where you have a pump that's attached to the bottom of your heart, and then a little tube that comes out that attaches to a controller, and you're swapping batteries all the time just so that you can stay alive. And then I was blessed. I ended up having a heart transplant. When I had the heart transplant, I'm where I am today, and I'm alive and kicking.
Well, like when you saw people and you knew their names and everything, you didn't know their names before going into the out-of-body experience, right?
Never met them.
And then you had to confirm later that was their name and the information was correct.
So give you an example of how I was able to confirm it and everything else, okay? The doctor came in. I called him by his first name, and then I told him by his last name afterwards. And then I asked him what he was doing when he went on ahead and he decided to run 2 lines in my neck as well as on my arm. I was like, why? And he was like, how do you know that I did that? How do you know that I used this? Why do you know my first name? And then on top of that, the nurses, they would come in and check, and I was able to call them by their first names because that's what they were called when they were in the room. It wasn't like nurse, whatever her last name is, like they have on their little tag. I was able to call them by their first names. And then as far as the people on the helicopter, they came and checked on me because they were curious as to whether I made it through the surgery. And I was able to tell them what was going on and talk to them about the experience and talk to them about why they took a special route instead of taking the other route that they were planning to do originally. And they were like, how do you know that we changed routes? It's because I was wide awake in my head the whole time, but my body right there was 100% out, gone.
Well, did you hear them say their first name while out of body, or did you just have an inner knowing, or was it voice telling you?
No, I heard them say their names. I heard them say what was going on. I heard them describe the events or ask for certain things. The out of body experience at Washington Hospital Center, I literally sat there and watched my body and watched them do things to my body. That's what that was. The one in the helicopter was like I was in my body and I was up looking around and I could see what the helicopter was. I could see that if you're looking at the back of the helicopter, I was sitting on the left-hand side and I was looking out the window. And she was on the right here, right beside me. And I literally would lean up and look out the window and look around like this. Technically, according to them, where I was in the helicopter, I was 100% out, gone, not here with us. And I had every tube imaginable in me. Plus they were doing chest compressions and they had the thing over top of my face.
Well, I don't know if you've studied other near-death experiences, but there's one that you can find on YouTube. Her name is Pam Reynolds, where they put her under and she was almost completely dead, but they were doing like a surgery, and she was able to float above the room and describe what the doctors were doing and the instruments they used in detail. It sounds very similar to that.
Yeah, I have no idea who you're talking about, but that's the experience that I had there. The other ones I had, the one where the person
have you been able to... Oh, go ahead.
The only ones I had where like the woman was just talking, where I heard the female voice to let me know that everything was okay and that it wasn't my time, was right when I had the heart transplant. And for that, it just was insane. Still warm feeling, like peace, at peace, the most beautiful peace that you could ever imagine. Like no worries, no nothing. That the light that you saw, or the light that everybody talks about, is kind of like what I saw. It's more or less a blinding white light that you can open your eyes to You're not squinting. You're not anything else. There's no pain, no nothing. And there's no 100% feeling of anxiety or depression or frustration. It's just overwhelming calm and peace.
What did the voice sound like? Did it seem like it had was it male or female? Did it have no
Female.
gender? What did
Female.
it impress you as?
Female,
Female?
soft-spoken, mature, adult female.
Do you know who it was, or do you have an idea?
No real idea actually as to who it was. I would hope that it would be somebody that knows me or knows of me or came to tell me that it's not my time, because that's basically what they said. It's not now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Was it the light? Was your first thought that this is God, or did you have any feelings along those lines?
My first thought is it's over. This is it. We're done. There's no going back. Then the next thought I had was regret, worries, frustrations, because I just wanted to be there with my family. I'm a kid. I was a young kid at the time, you know, in the beginning when the first one happened. So it was one of those situations where I'm fresh out of high school. I'm thinking about my family. I'm thinking about my mom and dad. I'm thinking about everything that's going on with my life and the fact that I never really got a chance to live it. And that it's over.
Mm-hmm. And you had some that were just audio?
Had one that was just audio, and that was the one during the transplant. The other ones, almost all the other ones were either out of body experiences or the white light. And I almost think that this is speculative because we all don't know, right? But maybe the white light was as close as I came. Like if I came 100% to where I need to be, or maybe the one for transplant was beyond the white light, just telling me that, you know, it's okay. Not your time yet. That type of deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like when you saw the white light, did you have to travel out of body towards a pinprick of light, or was it just like, boom, the white light was there?
No, it's like somebody raised the house lights at a show. Does that make sense? Like if you have if you're going to a show and the house lights go and come right up, it's like that. It's like the first thing you see is your body, and then the next thing you see is this light that slowly gets from dim to extremely bright in your face. It's not like coming towards you; it's just extremely dim to extremely bright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you said the last experience you had, you saw even more of like what the doctors were saying and doing, didn't you? Because you were talking about, I think, describing certain things.
Well, and even in the first experience, the one through there, I was able to describe things too. But during the transplant, I was able to describe lots of things. And the big one with that was not necessarily during the procedure as much as it was during the recovery. I'm one of the few people that you'll ever meet in your life that's been open multiple times. And the procedure that they did from the LVAD to the transplant was experimental, because the LVAD that I had caused an incredible amount of toxicity in my body. So what they did was, during the transplant process, they opened me up and did the first part of the transplant procedure, and then they kept me open for almost the entire week on various machines to try and keep me running until they finished the transplant later on in the week. So I laid open in CCICU until my body's levels came down so they could finish the procedure.
Mm-hmm.
So during that process,
and you were able to see.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say you were able to see for quite a while, or.
Yeah. During that process and during that time, I was able to see everything pretty much. I knew when people came into the room. I knew when they said something to me, when they talked to me, when the doctors and nurses came in and they did different things. I knew all of that, and I was not awake. The machine was doing the work, and not only was the machine doing the work, but I was extremely beyond sedated. But I could see everything, and it was not from my body's perspective, because my eyes were 100% closed, I was out. The machine was doing the work, you know. But during the transplant
Well,
process,
like
that's what it
what
was.
point of the room?
Hmm?
Yeah. What part of the room were you looking at when you said you were able to see everything going in and out and everything? Were you like at a certain
So
point in the room?
my perspective of the room was the bed itself that they had me in was in the left door was to the right. There was a shelving unit that was over here on the side, which had a bar that went all the way across the side that came over to where the bed was. Over on the opposite side of the bed, on this side, was the full blown machine, which was an ECMO, which would do all the work. There was also tubing and machines and stuff behind me over all the way across my head. I had a swan in my neck. I had all kinds of stuff all down my body and my sides on both sides, and more. What I could see from my perspective on the bed from where I was when I was out, I could see that door. I could see everything that she was doing, what he, whoever came through the door was doing. I could see when they walked over to the edge of the bed and gave their report and everything else. I could see when they came up to the side of the bed to check all the leads and check everything else on my neck or wherever. You can even see my scar there from when they went and did biopsies and everything else through my neck. But I also went through that whole entire process and saw all of that. My perspective in front of me was a double pane of glass window that basically where doctors could come and look through the window to make sure that the room that I was in was 100% sanitary, taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
So the only time that they ever came in,
So,
if they came in, they were gowned up extremely and they had everything else on them as far as masks and what have you, so that I didn't get an infection because this was still open.
did you have the thought that, well, maybe I could change the perspective or go to a different part of the hospital, or were you just sort of like focused on that point, not really thinking about it?
So considering you're there for that point of time, or if you've ever spent any amount of time in the hospital, you kind of sit there and you worry about how long is this going to act or how long is this going to go on, or how much longer do I have to be here, and you try and make the best of it in your head, like it's just let's watch TV, do whatever. In the instance that I was in there, it wasn't that. It was more or less of how long do I have to lay here, what's going on, why haven't they gotten me up yet, why can't I get up, why can't I move, why can't this go from here. And then every time that I would try to reach out, touch somebody, or talk, or do whatever, I couldn't. It was just kind of
Mm-hmm.
confusion in the beginning there when I was laying down there. But when everything kind of evened out and they finished the procedure, that's when I had another experience. And that experience was when they told me everything was okay. So
So, I mean, it was kind of like you were out of body, but you weren't aware at that point that you were out of your body. You just thought you were awake in some capacity, looking out.
just staying there trying to figure out what's going on. It wasn't
So,
like the
like,
first
before you had
instance.
any of your, oh, yeah, you had other experiences like that too?
Well, like I said, it wasn't like the first instance when I told you back in the right out of high school, when I literally had the one where I could see my body and see what was going on with it and what have you. That was complete out of body, or quote unquote out of body. This one, you would think it would be like out of body, but it felt more like I was there, even though I wasn't. So it was one of those situations.
Have you ever wondered whether the Bible was compatible with a near-death experience? In my book, Heaven's Truth, the parallels between the Bible and the near-death experience, your faith will be strengthened while you support this channel. In Heaven's Truth, you will learn about near-death experiences and other similar experiences in the Bible. Support for the Bible contained in NDEs, a central theme that runs through both the Bible and NDEs, how the NDE brings the Bible to life for these modern times, evidence for both the Bible and the NDE, and much more. Great book. Spillers does an excellent job weaving the relationship between NDEs and the scriptures. 5 stars on Amazon. Available on Amazon.
Well, like when you were out of your body and you were looking at yourself, were you aware that it was you? Or were you, because sometimes I've heard NDEs where they're looking at the body and at first they're like, well, who is that person? I don't know who that person is. It takes them a while to figure out who that is.
Yeah, no, I knew it was me. Yeah, I knew. And I was more or less worried about whether they were going to be able to fix what it was and what was going on, you know? Because I could see my face. I could see everything that they were doing, and I could hear what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but like, what was your religious or spiritual beliefs before any of your experiences, and how did they change as a result of them? Or did they stay the same, just get stronger?
So my grandfather was a Methodist minister. I'm a Christian. As far as did they change or get stronger, they got stronger. And not only did they get stronger, but it got one of those situations where I am 100% trying to live every day of my life the best I can live. Beforehand, I didn't really care. It was more or less life, but now it's live it to the fullest, do what you got to do. And the transplant totally changed that perspective as a whole, because it's not just about me and living my day to day. It's about me and the kids and everything that I have going on with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, did you lose your fear of death because of being in the light and feeling did you feel love and peace there?
Yes. But you still wonder whether this is it, this is 100% done. But even though when you're, it's like the first one that I had when I was at the, at NIH and going to Washington Hospital Center, when I was there, I felt at peace. I kind of figured it was what it was, because everybody talks about it. It's a white light. You're going to heaven. It is what it is. So I thought that was what it was. And then when I came back, it was like, okay, I get another shot. Let's try it. The other one, same way. It was one less like, okay, it's over. It's done. Now I'm moving on. But then I get another chance. Let's try again. So if I'm a cat, I've had 8. This would be my 9th life.
Yeah. So what are you doing since these experiences? I know you try to live life to the fullest. Have you gotten involved in different activities, or do you speak at IANDs or different NDE groups? So
right now, I can pretty much do anything that I want to. I'm in the process of doing some more work in radio, because I'm an announcer. I've been an announcer for forever and a day. I worked for iHeartRadio for many, many years. Before that, I worked for Clear Channel, and then I worked for J-Core, and I worked for many mom and pop radio groups. I've been in radio since I was 13 years old, being a runner for some of the stations and doing events. And then I've done pretty much every role that you could do with that. So now what I've been doing is I've been doing some indie radio and doing some stuff like that. And then I've gotten to the point where I'm trying to figure out what the next step is, what I want to do. I'm in the process of going through a divorce. I'm also in the process of managing my kids and make sure my kids are good in their life and everything that's going on well with them. I've got one that's going into high school next year and one that's finishing up middle school. So that's fun. So I'm really, really doing my best to live the best life I can and honor my donor, because my donor gave the ultimate sacrifice and the ultimate gift just so I could be here.
Mm-hmm. So have you shared your experience with very many people?
I've shared it with a few, but not many people. No. Everybody keeps telling me what I should probably do is I should do public speaking or do some kind of missionary work where I could talk to people about what the experiences I've been through with my life and what things have been going on with transplant and things like that, because transplant society and LVAD society it's a crazy life, man. There's so many people that are out there waiting and hoping that they'll get the gift, or they're hoping that they'll get a second chance, and they don't really get the second chance, or they get the chance and then things go awry. Like on my end, I ended up having rejection several times. And once you go through the process of rejection, you've waited so long to get an opportunity to get a second chance at life, and then all of a sudden it's taken from you because things are not going the way that the heart needs them to go, or the body needs them to go. So it's a tragedy. And sometimes you need the support system and the support group, or to talk to somebody that's been in the environment or been going through the trouble that you've been going through.
Have you had times where you felt kind of depressed, like I want to get back to the light, or I want to connect with the light, I just don't know how?
I've had times where I've been depressed. I've had times where you have times, I'm trying to choose my words carefully. You have times where you think about, am I really doing the right thing for my donor? Am I really living the best life that I can live? You have times where you think about, did I make the right choices? Should I have made the choice to go through the process of everything that I did, or should I have just gone to the light or gone to wherever I needed to go? That's a tough call, but you find yourself asking yourself those questions from time to time. And I think everybody kind of juggles with the whole life and death question as to whether they're doing the right things in life or whether they're not. Just human, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, have you thought about like writing a book about your experience?
I wouldn't know where to start. I've never written a book. Audiobook, I can talk about it all day long, but sitting down and writing something, I've never even thought about where to start or how to do it.
So when was the last experience you had? What was it, a few years ago, or?
The last major one that I had as far as an experience goes at all was during transplant, which was, I'll be 7 years post-transplant in September.
Have you noticed any connectivity to like the spiritual world? Because sometimes people have near-death experiences and they feel like a portal was open, like things connect, like maybe they'll affect the electricity or things like that around them, or they have an inner knowing about things.
Well, the question would be like, ghosts. Do you see ghosts? I've had people ask me that before. I've had people ask me about electrical, like things that go off around me or move around me or things like that. Do I see anything unusual? Kind of like what you're asking. Yes and no. It depends upon the perspective. I mean, sometimes you see, like, you get a vibe, you get a feeling, as to whether things around you are right or whether they're wrong, or whether it's like your conscience, where your conscience tells you this is right and that's wrong and things like that. Imagine walking into a room and getting a vibe that the room is not really the right room. Things like that, like being an empath. Wasn't that way before, but now I have that kind of feeling or vibe. But nothing as far as like wiki stuff, like ghosts and things like that. No.
So, like, in terms of all the experiences you've had and having time to think about it, what lessons have you learned?
Live life to the fullest. That's one. 2, make sure that you do everything that you can to not put yourself in a position where they have to make a call for life or death. Because it's not the experience of having the life or death experience that makes things better, worse in your life. It's the experience and the trauma that you go through just to get to that one moment. And you don't want that. Not at all. Do everything you can to avoid it until it gets to the point where you have to go and you have to deal with it. Look at the people around you and realize that they're having to go through all the crap that you're going through too, all the time. Example would be like, if you were to pass, have you made the decisions that you need to make? Have you made it so it's easier for the people that are around you to take care of the things that they need to take care of? If you're to go and be out of the picture and be in the hospital for months and months and months on end, do they have the support system around them to take care of the things that they need to take care of for you? Make sure that everybody around you is okay and that everybody's taken care of, so that if the event that something were to happen to you, you're good. And then as far as you're concerned, on a one-on-one basis, make sure that you are 100% okay with what's going on, so that when you are in the hospital and you're in those four walls that are kind of like a prison, regardless of what you look at it like, because you're stuck there. There's nothing that you can do, that you're not worried about anything other than getting better. That's it.
Mm-hmm. So is it part of you looking forward to going back in the light?
It'll be my time one day.
Where can they reach out to you? Like on Facebook, social media? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can find me on Facebook. Just my name, Jay Flanagan. Just look for me. Look for this bright and smiling face. You'll find me there. I'm also on Twitter. I have an organization called Unheard, and basically what Unheard is it's giving people an opportunity to be heard. Like music artists that don't get a chance to be performing anymore, they have a chance to be heard. So weareunheard.com is my website. They can reach out through there, or they can go on ahead and reach out on social media through We Are Unheard Now, like at We Are Unheard Now. So either Jay Flanagan or We Are Unheard Now.
I spent several years of my life stressed, anxious, and depressed. I needed to find something that would make my life work. For me, that was meditation. With meditation, I found the peace of mind that I was looking for. I found the happiness. And I found a way to improve every area of my life, my emotional life, my spiritual life, my relationships. I was able to discover things about myself. I can give you the tools to meditate. I will walk you through the process and hold your hand. Whether you're a beginner to meditation who's never meditated, or whether you're someone who's tried meditation and it just never seemed to work, we can make it work. Meditation is something that everyone can do, and I can show you how. Check out my course on meditation.